Hello friends, my name is Zekko and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have the Premier League. It is finally back and we have so much to be discussing. The first match week has completed. We have some games in the books that we can talk about, and we have so many different aspects of this weekend to be discussing. So it's going to be a long one. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself something to eat, put your feet up, and let's have a chat. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this coming very soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and let's talk about the Premier League once again. And here we have it. It is a new Premier League season and we have our games. We're going to be talking about a few of them today. We're going to be going through some of the matches, going through some of the tactics, and we're going to be having a look at how some of the wins came across and how some of the teams really underperformed. As you can see, we've already got our first game up here, and I really do think that it's the first one that we've got to start with. We have to start with Manchester United losing 2-1 at home to Brighton and Hove Albion. And a couple of things to note here to begin with. If you look at the momentum bar here on the left hand side, yes, it looks like in the second half especially, Manchester United had a lot of the possession. Yes, no, wrong. They did not have the bulk of the opportunities. Brighton were very comfortable. They had everything locked up. As you can see, the 2 goals came in the first half, which is where Brighton's main threat came from. This is really askew. It really doesn't show what actually happened in the game. And the same thing goes to the statistics. If you look at this without actually watching the match, you think, okay, 17 shots, that's all right. 5 shots on target, not too great. But we keep going on. 63% ball possession. We expect that from a Manchester United side at home. And then you go down and you look at the big chances too, okay. And you see all this green and you think, they must have done something in this game. Wrong. This is completely incorrect. Brighton were by far the dominant team, but they were by far the better team. And they were the only team that were willing to create goal-scoring opportunities, especially in the first half. We come now to the starting 11s, and automatically I look at this Manchester United side. We'll get to how brilliant Brighton were in a second. But I look at this Manchester United side, and it's Erik ten Hag's first game at Old Trafford in the Premier League. He has a new future ahead of him. Manchester United have a new, bright, bold prospect of going forward to try and achieve things. And immediately I see Fred and McTominay in midfield. The same midfield pivot, or the same midfield players that he was starting out with last season. The same players that let down the club time after time again last season. So, did they rectify anything? Did they? Gosh, no, they did not. It was absolutely horrendous. What you had was, and we'll get into the average positions in a second, but what you had was the lack of ambition, the lack of creativity, the lack of drive and determination from Fred specifically, and McTominay, who had a terrible game, should have been sent off. But we look at this, he won 0 grand duels, he won 0 aerial duels. His passing accuracy was 80%, was okay, which is absolutely shocking in comparison to Scott McTominay, who, when we look at it, he only averaged 67, he only had 67% accurate passing. That is horrendous for a holding midfielder, for a side like Manchester United. That's below top 8. That is horrendous. Yes, he won 2 ground duels and 2 aerial duels. He was horrific. Honestly, it was absolutely terrible to watch. An awful performance from Scott McTominay and Fred, and it was just the epitome of everything that has gone wrong for Manchester United over this period of time. No creativity in midfield, no guile, no determination, and no willingness to do anything with the ball. They got the ball and then they just couldn't find a pass. They did not have the time to get on the half turn and find another red shirt. When they did, or when they got on the ball, you saw Scott McTominay driving through midfield. He had options of Rashford on the left and then Sancho on the right, and he decides to take an extra 5 touches and then give away the ball and then possibly break someone's ankle. A horrendous performance, and he really needs to be considered to be just removed from the club in its entirety, because these kind of performances cannot happen again under Erik ten Hag like they have been under so many other managers. These managers cannot be fooled anymore by how poor these players have been for the managers that came before them. It was horrific. On another note, let's talk about how Manchester United set up. Right. Here we have the Manchester United average positions right here. And what I'm first going to mention in its entirety is this is exactly what I would expect from an Erik ten Hag team. You have Diogo Dalot here, you have Luke Shaw here, fullbacks who are going to want to go forwards. Yes, fullbacks who are going to want to get on the ball on the wings and then overlap their wingers to be able to create some space. This is fine. Another thing that's fine is Jadon Sancho here and Marcus Rashford here. They want them within the width of the penalty area to make sure that they get closer to goal to be able to get goal-scoring opportunities. This is fine. Cristiano Ronaldo was not available and Martial was injured, which means they started off with Christian Eriksen, which was okay as a false nine. He has done it previously. Although it wouldn't have been ideal, he has done it before. So the idea of it would have made sense. But the problem that I mentioned previously is that Scott McTominay and Fred had such poor performances and they failed to find their teammates so many times that Eriksen went wandering for the ball. And when Eriksen went wandering for the ball, they no longer needed to mark him because they had such a midfield dominance, Brighton did, in the formation they played. And again, we'll get to that in a second. But they had such a midfield dominance that when it actually came to marking those two, they just had the three of them together. Bruno Fernandes was trying to draw away some of the pressure from the midfield too. It just didn't work. And then you have the runs of Danny Welbeck, who was continuously running the channels into this area, specifically between Diogo Dalot and Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, mind that square, and Luke Shaw and Martinez. Now, this made a horrendous problem for Manchester United because with the fullbacks pushing on and bombing forwards, all Brighton needed to do was just hit the channels. And when they hit the channels, Welbeck had enough pace to be able to beat Maguire, to occasionally beat Martinez, and Brighton were already in United's half. So if they couldn't play their ways out of trouble, they also had a route one option, meaning that there were so many different problems for Manchester United to deal with. Let alone the fact that when Manchester United tried to mark them, they didn't know what was going on, specifically because of the formation that Brighton was playing. Now, we bring it back to here. Brighton were playing a 3-3-3-1. That is not made up. That's, you have 3 centre-backs, 3 centre midfielders, 3 wingers, or, well, 2 wingers, 1 centre attacking mid, and a striker. Danny Welbeck was absolutely sensational in making sure that he ran through the channels. We're going to have a look at his heat map here. He was everywhere, specifically over here, but he was everywhere. He ran the channels here, he ran the channels here, and he just created so many problems and so many opportunities for Brighton. It was fantastic. We need to talk about the likes of Pascal Gross as well. With the way that they were able to get the ball down the wings, get possession, Manchester United just couldn't cope with it. Diogo Dalot was being run ragged. Luke Shaw the same. Martinez and Maguire, I actually thought had pretty decent games considering the lack of defensive capability that the side had, coming from Fred McTominay, who, again, with their lack of creativity, also failed to mark any players. They just ran through them. Manchester United are extremely easy to play against, and this is taking nothing away from Brighton, but they really are one of the easiest teams to get at. It's just horrendous play, and it spells a torrid time going forwards, because with the transfer window not looking up for them, you really wonder how much this team is going to change, if it will change at all. Marcus Rashford still has his poor vein of form. Jadon Sancho tried what he could, especially in the second half. They were better in the second half once they took off Ronaldo, once they brought on Ronaldo, I should say, for Fred. Yes, but that meant that Christian Eriksen had to play in the holding midfield role, which is not what you want, because obviously McTominay didn't have enough creative guile or thought to be able to push the ball forwards. Eriksen needed to go and do that, which is another one of your creative players that you're missing out on. It was a horrendous performance, a terrible one, and I don't really know where it goes from here. On Brighton's side, they were absolutely sensational, all of them working to a T, to a man, and they were fantastic. I maintain that even in the second half, when it says that Manchester United had a lot of threat, I don't think Brighton were threatened all too much. I really don't. Yes, they got a goal back through an own goal. It was an unfortunate header from a corner, and Sanchez missed the ball. But overall, they were really comfortable. I don't think that that they were really threatened all too much. And going forwards, I think they got their 2 goals and were quite happy with the way they were in Old Trafford. Yes, it's a difficult place occasionally, especially when the crowd gets up, but the crowd never had a chance to get into the game due to the poor nature of Manchester United's centre midfielders. Overall, I think it was a very good game, but Manchester United need to go back to the drawing board. It was just horrific. They need new players desperately, or bring the youngsters in, because these two will not get you anything. And this game should be the highlight, or the shining light to Ten Hag, that these two are not up to it. So a fantastic win for Brighton, and it was just terrible from Manchester United. We'll see how they do next week. Right, let's move on to Leeds versus Wolves. A lot has been made of Leeds and whether they will go down because of the amount of players that they brought in. A lot has been made of the new manager, Jesse Marsch, and whether he can adapt his playing style to a Premier League side and how well he can do with them. Well, if this outing against Wolves was anything to go by, and I do think this is a very, very new look, a very, very young look, I do think this is going to evolve, I do think this is going to advance, but the signs there are very, very good. He's got them set up. He plays a lot of new players here. He's got 4 in the starting lineup. You've got Tyler Adams, Mark Rocker, Brendan Aronson, and Rasmus Christensen. Now, they played very, very, very well. I was extremely impressed. I was mostly impressed with the way that they were able to be integrated into this team. And I'll explain why, utilising the average positions. If we look at this is Leeds' average positions versus Wolves. Now, the first thing I need to mention is, if I'm a coach, and I'm a new coach looking at this, I'm not a coach, but let's go with it. If I'm looking at this and I want to make sure that my team have a good organisation, a good feel for themselves, a good average position for themselves, always helping each other out, this is exactly what I would look for. Look at this. This is sensational. Yes, they're a little bit deep, I'd say, but this is absolutely brilliant, and we'll go through why. So, you have the 2 centre-backs. They're close together, they're closely knit, and just very, very good. You've then got the fullbacks, the full width of the pitch. We talked about Manchester United and the way that they wanted to utilise the fullback going around the outside, with the wingers almost taking up the width of the penalty box, allowing more forwards to get into the box, obviously creating more goal-scoring opportunities. This is fine. Great. Another really interesting thing is how close these two are together. They're always there helping each other. There's always the second man to be able to help their teammate get out of trouble or give them an option. Always brilliant. That's Adams and Rocker. I was very impressed with both of them. Then you have Aronson and Harrison on the left and right wings. Aronson, I was very impressed with how he goes around the pitch. He has a lot of energy, and that's another thing that I need to mention with this Leeds side, is they have bundles of energy, bundles of willingness to run. They are always on the front foot. And then you've got these two. You've got Bamford and you've got Rodrigo. You notice that Rodrigo is so close to Bamford on his average positions because he wants to try and help Bamford, much like you've got Adams and Rocker. You've got a second player to help you, so you're never isolated. You're never alone, allowing Leeds to be able to build up partnerships around the pitch. You're going to have this partnership here, you're going to have this partnership here, and you've got partners and duos all over the pitch. And this gives a cohesion to this Leeds side that I think a lot of sides will be looking at and a lot of sides will want. I think the way Jesse Marsch has built them up is very good. I think, yes, they rode their luck a couple of times with Wolves, especially during the match. I mean, you can see the attacking threat momentum bar here, and Wolves really did come into the game in the second half. But overall, I was so impressed with Leeds and the way they played. I can see so many green shoots, so many good things. Yes, some of the stats are in favour towards Wolves. Yes, they should have done better with the chances they got, but that's just the way the game goes. I just think on a Leeds perspective, they should be really happy with the performance they put in, and it can only get better from here because it's the start of the season, everyone's a little bit rusty, and when you're 2 to 6 to 10 games in, you're really going to start to see this Leeds team thrive, I think. Really exciting times. Now let's look at Wolves. Right, they started off with a back four, which is different to their usual approach of 3 at the back, which goes and transitions into a back 5. I thought they played okay. My problem with this Wolves side is that offensively, I'm not I'm not quite sure what they want to do. They are in a little bit of everything. You got Morgan Gibbs-White, who was kind of all over the place. He stayed down this right hand side, but then you had Podence, which I'm sure he switched with. Podence likes to be in the middle occasionally, and then you've got some interesting cases. Neto, I thought, had an okay game, but again, he was everywhere. I'm not sure about the structure of this Wolves side. Yes, it's quite free-flowing. Yes, it's nice. It's good. But when it comes to actually building attacks and creating opportunities through rhythm and through momentum, it really does feel quite haphazard for Wolves. We'll have a look at their average positions right now, and again, this kind of establishes what I mean. These two were fine. The wing backs, or the right back and the left back, they're fine. Obviously, you have the holding midfielders. That's okay. It's this front four that I have a little bit of an issue with. They're a bit too narrow for me, and when you have them this narrow, they're kind of stepping on each other's toes. They're not like the Leeds side where they're kind of in partners, they're in pairs. It's not like that. They're all 4-1 to be in the centre. There's no one really running the wings. Aït-Nouri did a little bit, but Otto, I don't think has the legs, or Johnny Otto, I don't think has the legs to be able to get up and down the pitch continuously. And you saw Leeds kind of quite take advantage of that, especially through Jack Harrison running the opposite way. I thought Nathan Collins had quite a good game. I was quite pleased with his passing, and I was quite pleased with his positioning. They were unfortunate with the goal that or one of the goals that they conceded, or both of them, I should really say. I thought that Jose Sarr should have done better with the saves that he was making, but that's by the by. I thought that the attackers just started to step on each other's toes. You saw them overlapping continuously, but never really making space for each other. It was quite... There were a lot of individuals on the pitch. It was quite difficult to be able to ascertain what kind of playing style they were going for. It was very much a case of, I've got the ball, I'll try to make something happen, and then maybe you're over there and that's fine. They don't seem to have a proper pattern of play or a style of play. I don't know if that's because they haven't worked on it. Again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it's obviously the start of the season and they did show some promising signs. Pedro Neto looks really good, really sharp. I like Podence, obviously. And I think that Gibbs-White definitely has a big future. We know that there's been some bids for him, so I'd be interested to see how that goes. But overall, Wolves, I think, could do a little more. And Leeds, I thought, were very good, really. I thought they were very, very good. Okay, and let's move over to a couple more games just to have a little bit of a word about. We've got Chelsea versus Everton. Chelsea obviously winning this game 1-0. Now, the momentum bar is very clear. It's all Chelsea, all Chelsea. But I was actually extremely unimpressed with the way that Chelsea attacked and the way that Chelsea went forward. This here, Kai Havertz, Raheem Sterling and Mason Mount, again, a lot of what I'm about to say and what I have said needs to be taken with a pinch of salt almost with regards to how organised and coordinated these teams are, with it being the start of the season. That being said, I was not impressed with the way that Chelsea worked offensively, nearly at all. Raheem Sterling went on a couple of runs and he picked up a couple of interesting positions, and I thought him and Chilwell and him and Cucurella did very well when Cucurella came on. That being said, Havertz I thought was quite poor. Mason Mount picked up a couple of positions and a couple of driving runs and shots, but aside from that, it was very, very weak from Chelsea, to be honest with you. N'Golo Kante does not have the dynamism that he used to have. I mean, yes, he was kind of all over the place, but also at the same time, I really thought offensively, he used to be very, very good at driving with the ball and creating opportunities, but I just didn't see that. I really didn't. And then you've got the back three who are going to be tested a lot more. Koulibaly, I thought, had a decent debut. Thiago Silva was always really good on the ball, and Azpilicueta was fine. Chilwell and James really didn't get into the game all that much. Yes, they had a couple of chances and they had a couple of opportunities, but I really didn't think it was great. Jorginho obviously scored the penalty, but if it wasn't for that penalty, I really don't know whether Chelsea would have won this game. Everton were very solid defensively. I was impressed with the entire back line. Patterson is a bit of a gem, same with Mikolenko. Tarkowski monitored that back line very well, and I thought that Godfrey, it's so unfortunate with his injury. I hope he has a quick and speedy recovery. Mina obviously got injured as well, but overall defensively, I thought they were very good. Iwobi was a underrated player in that match, in my opinion. He was everywhere, and you can see that from this heat map. He was offensively there, he was defensively there, continuously being a nuisance, and I thought he was extremely good and really helped that Everton midfield to have a lot of energy. You have Iwobi and Doucouré, the energy was there all of the time. I was really impressed. McNeil had an okay start, and Anthony Gordon was a bundle of energy as well. The main issue for Everton is they just didn't have any attacking impotence whatsoever. They just didn't get anywhere near the box and cause Chelsea any threat. Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin being out is a big issue for this, and they're also missing Rondon due to him being suspended. Richarlison is another big miss. Obviously, they sold him, so offensively they're a bit poor. But I'm not going to lie to you, I expected Chelsea to really give it to Everton, and they didn't. And Everton really held their own. I was really impressed. Lampard did a pretty good job defensively against Chelsea, and I think he'll be pretty hard done by, and he'll think that the penalty that they gave away could have been avoided, and it could have been something different. It could have been a different game. So I was really impressed with the way Chelsea played Everton. Or the way Everton played against Chelsea, I should say. Now let's look over to Manchester City and West Ham. The Haaland show has begun. He got his 2 goals against West Ham. Obviously seems a bit out of the game, but I think that's Erling Haaland's game. I really do. If you watch his second goal, it was monstrous. I know everyone is making a big deal about how he won the penalty and the pace and the power that he had to get there, but for me it was the run and the positioning when West Ham went forward once. It was the one chance that they had, the one ability that they had to try and go forwards, and they got hit in the counter, and it was devastating, wasn't it? To De Bruyne, through to Haaland, and it was just so nice, so well done. I was really impressed. Jarrod Bowen had a very poor game. Overall, I thought West Ham did okay. In the heat, it's always going to be difficult against a team like Man City, but they ground through the gears and they got that win. It seemed pretty simple, and it seemed like a matter of time. Antonio really struggled to try and get into the game, and I thought that overall West Ham were suffering from the heat and the chasing. It's one of the worst teams to play against, so it doesn't surprise me that the game went that way. But Erling Haaland gets his goal once again. He's going to be an absolute monster in the Premier League, isn't he? Just sensational. So yeah, he's absolutely on fire. He's brilliant, and he's going to score so many goals. It's going to be pretty terrifying. And let's move on to Liverpool and Fulham. I don't really know what happened to Liverpool. They seemed to just not turn up. It was crazy. Jurgen Klopp came out after the game in his post-match interview and said that they lacked the attitude, and that really resonated with me. When have you ever heard a Liverpool side lack attitude? They lacked the attitude or an application to be able to win the game. Fulham were amazing. Let's not beat around the bush here. Fulham were sensational. They put in one of the best performances I've seen a newly promoted side put in. They were fantastic. Alexander Mitrovic is going to be a serious contender to deal with. I thought that Cabano and Reed did a very good job of pushing down the flanks. Trent Alexander-Arnold was bullied for that first goal, and I thought that Virgil van Dijk just couldn't handle the turning power of Mitrovic, and that's extremely surprising. When have you ever seen Van Dijk being beaten one-on-one like that? It was crazy. It was definitely a penalty, but I've got to talk about Liverpool offensively. I mean, what were they doing? Luis Diaz kind of got into the game, but also didn't. Mohamed Salah, yes, got his goal, which is why I think he's so highly rated, but I just didn't see it all too much. Yes, he made a couple of runs, but he didn't get found all too much. Roberto Firmino, I like him. I think he's a good player, but I just didn't think that him dropping deeper really helped them. It didn't link any of the play, really, and I've got to say it, they really missed Mane. They did. They missed the dynamism that he brought on that left-hand side. And I thought Luis Diaz played okay, but I think he cut in a little bit too much. I think he didn't utilise that left flank and really attacked Kenny Tete. I thought he could have done a bit better there. Missing Thiago out to injury is a big miss. And you're now starting to look at that Liverpool midfield and thinking Jordan Henderson is getting on a little bit. He covered a lot of ground, but I thought he was quite poor as well. I thought he got bullied by Mitrovic on a run that Mitrovic did during the match, and I thought that he just got annihilated, really. Fabinho didn't have a great game. None of these Liverpool players really had a good game, and I think it was really surprising that Jurgen Klopp came out and said that they had an attitude problem. They didn't have the correct attitude going into the game. Now, whether they thought that they were too good for Fulham, whether they thought it was going to be an easy game and just walk over them, I'm not sure, but Fulham really brought it. Player that I really want to mention is João Palhinha, one of their new signings. He is a gem. The amount of times that he recovered the ball for Fulham, especially when players were driving, you had the likes of Thiago going forwards, Firmino going forwards. He was always there to try and snuff out a chance or an opportunity. You look at this, he was in 9 ground duels. He won 7 of them. That is crazy. For a team like Fulham, that is invaluable, and he can see a pass. His passing accuracy, 77%, again, very good. I was very impressed. Andreas Pereira did okay, didn't really have the creative spark that I thought he might do moving from Manchester United to Fulham, but he's got plenty of time, and there were other ways to win this match through Mitrovic, and yeah, I was really impressed. I've got a big question mark about these two centre-backs. I know they're quite highly rated here, but I have got a couple of questions about the way they defended that second goal against Darwin Núñez. We should talk about Darwin Núñez. We should really have a mention from him, because I have been, not a critic, but I have made a question about whether he is going to be a risk for Liverpool, and I think he still might be. I think he's going to score a lot of goals, but whether he's worth the money that they paid for him is another question. Whether they need him that much is also another question. We have 1 goal, 1 assist, and he only did 39 minutes. He creates chaos where he goes, and I think that if Liverpool are going to be able to utilise him going into the rest of the season, I think he's going to be a very, very special player for them. He was the difference in bringing Liverpool back into this game, and I think that really can't be understated. He was very, very good here, and he posed a massive problem for these two centre-backs. Overall, there's not too much else to say about this. I was really impressed with the way Fulham attacked this game, and yeah, Liverpool need to buck up their ideas. We now have a look at Tottenham Hotspur. We're not going to spend too much on this. Southampton obviously got the first goal. James Ward-Prowse getting another goal. It really does make me wonder where the goals are going to come from for Southampton. Tottenham were very good. I was very impressed with that. Another mention for average positions. I'm going a lot on this today, but I really do need to mention it, because if you look at the average positions, if you notice something, you remember how I talked about that Leeds average positions, and we look here, it's exactly the same. If you're thinking about Antonio Conte and the way that Antonio Conte wants to play his football, you've got some really, really positive signs here. You've got Romero, and you've got obviously Emerson Royal and Kulusevski, who was absolutely amazing this game, by the way. Then you've got the likes of Dyer and Sessegnon. Son is a little bit further forward, but he can be counted in that. You've got Harry Kane dropping deeper to be able to feed those two. And then you've got the midfield base of Bentancur and Højbjerg. Dyer will be able to sweep round at any point that he wants. I'm not sure what I'm drawing here, but he can do it all the time. And if you're looking for positive signs as a Tottenham fan, and you're looking at the way this team is going to play and the way this team is going to set up, the fact that these average positions are so accurate and the fact that they're so equally spaced out with each other is a very, very, very good sign going forwards. It means they understand the instructions that the coach is giving them. It means that they're willing to work to the game plan, and getting that 4-1 win is going to be massive for them going forwards. Yes, I know it's against Southampton. Yes, I know a lot of people don't rate Southampton right now. I have my questions about them, but it's still something they needed to do. Remember also, they went behind in the 12th minute. Remember that. And they came back with a vengeance. Within 10 minutes of scoring the first one, they also got the second. 2-1 up at half-time, and then they scored 2 goals in 4 minutes. It was very, very good from Tottenham Hotspur. Very impressive, and they're going to be one to watch going forwards. The last game I'm going to mention is Newcastle against Nottingham Forest. Again, not too much about this one. I think Forest are going to struggle this season. But I just want to mention Newcastle and this attacking momentum bar. If you look at the momentum, that is crazy. And if you think about Eddie Howe and you think about possession, you think about entertaining football for those Newcastle fans, that's what you want. This is what you want. It really is. If you look at it, it's just sensational. I mean, it was fantastic. And then you look here and you see green everywhere. It's absolutely crazy. 23 shots, 10 on target, 8 shots off target. Just but 10 on target, and it's just really exciting. A cracker of a goal from Fabian Schär, a brilliant finish from Callum Wilson, and it's just really looking up for them. It's really looking up. One player that I want to mention is Joe Linton. Again, 8 out of 14 ground duels won. He's got a passing accuracy of 91%. If you said that this would be the player that you'd get in midfield from the striker that he was, you'd never believe me. He completed 5 hours, 4 dribbles. He is an absolute sensation. Honestly, he's one of my favourite players. He's brilliant. Bruno Guimaraes really works in this team, and I think they've got another gear to go. I think if they get a couple of players, maybe a James Maddison, maybe a couple more like that. I like Almiron. I just think he's more of an impact player, and I think they need to find someone to be able to replace him. I'm not the biggest fan of Ryan Fraser, so I really do think that down this right-hand side, they need to get an addition. Apart from that, I've been really impressed with this Newcastle side, and the domination they had over Nottingham Forest, really not letting them get into the game in their first match in the Premier League, back in the Premier League again, was really impressive. That cannot be understated. Fantastic performance from Newcastle United, and that is really where I'm going to leave it. I was extremely impressed with a lot of these games. There are a lot of really highlighting points to go through, and it just makes you super excited for the Premier League. So I know it was a little bit long. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for talking about it. Let me know what your thoughts on this weekend's fixtures are in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it with a like, and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this coming very soon. As I said, let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts on this match week was. How did your team do? And are you happy with it? Do you think they can improve? And if so, how? Let me know in the comments below. You can always let me know on Twitter. You can find me at Zekko64. That's generally where I post my videos going live. But of course, you can already know that if you hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Like I said, that's it from me for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care of yourselves and bye-bye.